Greetings on Boxing Day. It is soccer down here, soccer's morning show from South Alabama, and I'm going to apologize ahead of time. Traditionally, this time of year when when we're on the road and we are here at the boss's in-laws, internet speed's a little slow. So I'm going to apologize ahead of time if I end up being a little jumpy, a little juddy. Is that a word? If things aren't normally the way they are out of Office HD. So please, I beg your forbearance this morning. Like I said, the internet speeds are a little slow, but we'll be back at it in Office HD tomorrow morning. And we will do this week and next week pretty much the same, because that's what happens when you have a holiday that ends up on Monday. So if everyone will allow next week as well, then we will end up having, once again, Tuesday on Monday. And I've got to tell everybody this on the show this morning. But, with New Year's being New Year's and Christmas being Christmas following on Mondays, thank you, Hutch. Yes. And yes, please suffer with the buffer. And that's pretty much how it's going to be, at least just today, and then everything will be fine. So here's the rundown for today. It's once again, since it's Tuesday on a Monday, Tuesday, 10 o'clock, Bart Keeler will join us for some reffing down here and probably a little bit of a retrospective when it comes to U.S. national team stuff and what he and everybody else associated with the Soccer for US POD has learned this season. So we'll have that at 10 o'clock, and then Drew and Maddie will come in at 10:30 for Prem and Proper, the review. And the way things are apparently, quoting our friends at Talk Sport, it's going to be interesting on a couple of fronts because of what happened and this past weekend with Manchester United, official. And you have a very, very, honestly, I don't even know if when Drew comes on at 10:30, we'll ask him if he actually is happy, because it's only 25%. Yes, you're in charge of the footballing aspects of everything with Sir Jim Ratcliffe finally being in charge. But, just how in charge is he going to be? And is Drew, the Manchester United massive supporter that he is, how jacked up is he finally that this is happening, considering that the Glazers still are involved? So we'll have Drew come in and discuss what's going on with Manchester United. And then by the time Maddie comes in at 10:30 as well, she probably is not going to be the most happy individual in the world, because apparently, I guess the lesson here when it comes to the Premier League is don't give up your former players, because they can come up and bite you. First game back in the Premier League for Nuno Espirito Santo, and you thought going in that Nuno might have had a hard time, considering that he bumped one of the expensive cameras with a cameraman attached in his walking down the touch line. And so then, morning next, happy Boxing Day to you and everybody. But then from there, it's been all Nottingham Forest. And it makes you wonder, Alexander Isak hit a penalty in the 23rd. And you're thinking, okay, this is sadly, this is the Nottingham Forest that we know. And then all of a sudden, it's 1-0 at the break, or it's 1-0. And then Chris Wood at 45+1 gets a goal. And then 2 goals within 7 minutes in the 53rd and the 60th. So right now, with about 10 minutes to go plus any stoppage time, Nottingham Forest. I don't know who this Nottingham Forest team is, especially with Nuno in charge, because they're scoring goals. Yes. Well, yes, absolutely true. Sorry, Alex. Sorry, Maddie. It is now in double form. So it is sorry, Alex. Sorry, Maddie. It is 3-1 with 10 minutes to go. And so it is Boxing Day, and so that means that there's the ish load of games that are going on. That's Boreham Wood. No, Bournemouth and Fulham and Sheffield United and Luton Town. Those are both at 10 o'clock in the Premier League. But we will have Burnley and Liverpool at 12:30, and then Manchester United and Aston Villa is at 3. So very, very busy day in the Prem for Boxing Day. 5 matches today, and then You'll have 3 on Wednesday and 2 on Thursday, and you get Friday off before everything starts back all over again. So happy festive fixtures, everybody. And so Nottingham Forest is probably forcing both Alex and Maddie into some kind of cursing reaction right now. And Knicks is Leicester City, who are on the they're on their way to smashing the record. And we thought last year in the championship when Burnley was just north of the bar and they were crushing it when it came to all of the numbers that you had for being top of the table, points in the season, all that kind of stuff. It could be that the Knicks' Leicester City, by the way, could smash all of those records, and you could have the second team in the championship doing the same thing. So you've got all of that that's going on as well. So Knicks is gassed up for the championship clash at Ipswich Town at 2:45 this afternoon. So once again, festive fixtures all over the place. Lower divisions and I can't do it, so I'm just going to say England. So lower divisions in England are going to be at it at 2:45 as well, Eastern time. And this is the other thing. Now that we're talking about all these kinds of times, you see that being in the Central Time Zone, at least today, been here with the boss's family over the last couple of days. The Central Time Zone, man, when you're trying to get ready for a show, you are dragging. I don't know how you guys are when it comes to being in the Central Time Zone, but when you're used to doing things in the Eastern Time Zone and you take that 1 hour and you're an hour backward, which means that, and it's almost like when you're buying something, if you're buying gasoline, and if it's $1.99.9 instead of $2. Or $2.70 or $2.69.9 instead of $2.70, which is what it is these days. So you sit there and you feel a lot better about yourself when you're buying something that's $2.69.9. $2.70, you're kind of like, man, that's kind of feeling it out there. But $2.69.9 makes you feel that much better. When you buy something that's something and 99 cents, and that little extra bit, 9:05 Eastern time is fantastic when you're in the Eastern Time Zone. Because in the Central Time Zone, that means it is 8:05. And so it is 8:13 here in as the boss says, God's country. And so, getting up is that hour early, even though it's the same thing. It's that mental aspect of the hour earlier, where shows at 8:05, shows from 8:05 to 10:05 instead of 9:05 to 11:05. 9:05 to 11:05 sounds great. In the morning, 9:05 to 11:05, you're fantastic. But here in the Central Time Zone, 8:05, the show's on at 8:05 in the morning. Morning shows are 5 to 9 instead of 6 to 10. And you're like, yee. Yeah, Michael, I'm right there with you, brother. Born and raised in Connecticut, still contend it's the best time zone. I'm right there with you. The Eastern Time Zone. And I mean, when we are on the West Coast, when we go to vacation or we're, visiting in-laws or things like that, or visiting family, I mean, doing the morning show and it's -3, 6:05, which means you're getting up at 4:30 local time. I mean, yeah, it's still 7:30 and everything, and the body doesn't necessarily respond in time, but just that 1 hour, and the fact that we're here, and we're probably a good 30 minutes away, just because of 2-lane roads and no direct path, from being in the Eastern Time Zone. And so you're not quite really full-blown, full-fledged 1 hour back. You're kind of like right there. Oh, Central Time Zone. Oh, you're born and raised in the Central Time Zone. That could be the whole. See, when I see Connecticut, Michael, I'm like, when I see CT, I think Connecticut. Thank you. All right, fine. Yeah, Kefsey. Yeah, we're going to talk about that at 10:30. Hey, Newcastle. I have a word of advice. Mark Chris Wood. Yeah, we'll get into that. So I know that Michael is an Auburner, much like the boss. But I thought that you said UCCT, Central Standard Time. No, you don't have it. No, Michael. Yes, I have met Michael many times. Michael does not have a Yankee accent, but that's a misnomer. That's a misnomer. That just because somebody might be from Connecticut doesn't mean that they necessarily sound like this. Everything's all heavy. No. It depends on your family and your upbringing. And it's also 8:16 in the morning here. So, but now you said CT. So if you said Central Standard Time or Central Daily, Central Time, Central Standard Time, Connecticut, or whatever, I need that third letter. That's what I need. The third letter. No, you don't have a Yankee accent. So, Hutch is our resident libertarian. We should do away with time zones and go to a time continuum instead. As an example, we're so close to Central Time Zone, our time really should be something more like 8 a.m. right now. Well, but once again, Michael, we're an opening kickoff where pretty much anything happens. But so there you go. I need that third letter. Otherwise, I'm going to say Connecticut. But there you go. All right. So, it's early here in the Central Time Zone, or as the boss and Michael would refer to it, God's time. So there it is. That's opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And there's your QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch. Once again, thanks to everybody who kicks off their day with Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. There is, don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They in turn take 10%, reinvest it into youth games, youth initiatives, very, very cool things that they have come across in their time being a part of stuff. That's the official term at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. A couple of housekeeping things. Starting next week, how we mentioned that we had reissued the Atlanta is American soccer scarf for helping out our friends at the Marshall Islands. Stage 2 of that we will let you know about next Tuesday, because the scarf that we've pieced together is officially official, and we're waiting to hear on a couple of different things, but we'll show you how you can help the Marshall Islands out, and it's very, very cool. So that's just it's a tease, and it should be next Tuesday, and we'll show you how you can help out the Marshall Islands starting in 2024. If you're looking for a tax deduction by the end of the season here in 2023, you can pick up a scarf. The reissue of the 5-stripe scarf, the Soccer Down Here. Atlanta is American soccer, the red and black with the gold 5 stripes. You can pick that one up, or you can wait till 2024, get your first deduction on the board, helping out our friends at the Marshall Islands. We'll show that one to you next Tuesday. But it's very, very cool, and once again, it'll help out our friends there as they want to try and have an event here in 2024. So very, very cool stuff. Once again, that'll be coming up next Tuesday. So we'll premiere that next Tuesday, and we'll let you see how you can help out our friends at the Marshall Islands with actual Marshall Islands stuff. And we'll see if we can get Lloyd Hours and our friends from the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. We'll see if we can get them on some point early next year to help out there as well. A couple of things this morning that have come across, and one of them has to do with, well, obviously Christmas. I want to know how your Christmas was and what'd you get, how your holidays are going. Did you get the pony that you requested under the tree? I want to know what your gifts were. I want to know what you've been able to do so far with the family and all that kind of stuff. So did you get what you were hunting for? What'd you get? So how has your holiday season been so far? How was your holiday weekend? So I'm asking you that up front. We always talk about the intrigue attached to Messi and friends. And there are reports, and like I said, this time of year, we're in silly season. So anything is humanly possible when it comes to folks who want to be a part of what's going on there in Miami. And so it was intriguing, to say the very least, to see that there was another player that seems to be of interest to our friends in Fort Lauderdale. And the discussions now are about Marcus Rojo. I mean, but then as soon as we went off the air on Friday, that was when they signed Luis Suarez. So Luis Suarez is in the bin, and he has Leo Campana's number. I don't know if Leo Campana was told this, or if that is some kind of a sign. But Luis Suarez is officially official. That happened on Friday, right after we went off the air. So that is officially official as they continue to bring in Messi and friends and continue to try and figure out, okay, how are we going to shoehorn everybody under the cap? They'll find a way, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, how'd you do? Marcus Rojo has now been added to the list. And, we went into the discussion of, Marcus Rojo. So for those that may not necessarily be up to speed on Marcus Rojo, defender for Boca Juniors, captain at Boca Juniors, he's 33. And he's been there since 2021, 45 matches, 6 goals on the board. And so he's been at Boca ever since his time at Manchester United ended. And so this would be something that we could probably talk to Drew about after 10:30. But now it appears that Marcus Rojo is in the discussion to join Messi and friends. And you would end up with a defender that is north of 30. And would he even be, and you wonder really and I'm trying to phrase this in a certain way. How much is left in the tank, and could Marcus Rojo handle what's going on with how things are currently going in Major League Soccer? Could he handle the speed? All right, now Transfermarkt is just angering me now. So let's do it this way. How about if we just look at the teams? So Marcus Rojo at 33, added to the possible discussion of the back line for Messi and friends. Right now, Marcus Rojo is listed to have a market value down to €2 million. And this is once again courtesy of our friends at Transfermarkt. So currently captain, left-footed center back. And at the age of 33, he would turn 34 in the season. Came over February 2nd of 2021 on a free. Hey, that should tell you something. His highest market value, according to our friends at Transfermarkt, was 7 years ago at £19 million, down to $2 million currently. So this really is evolving into a Messi and friends situation. Not that we didn't think it would be something different than that. But in Marcus Rojo's activity in 2023, 16 matches, 1 goal. 1,000 minutes in 2023. 61 caps with Argentina, 3 goals scored during that time. So if Marcus Rojo, and we got to figure out when his how long is his contract for? His contract expires next December. So he signed a 2-year deal, like a 2.5. So Marcus Rojo he's got a little under 2 years left on his deal. Signed a 3, 23, 20, no, signed a 2. So would Boca Juniors be in a position where, it's like, you know what? We'll go ahead and let him go. To be added to that back line at Inter Miami, and you know that they would find a way to make it work. Financially. We always talk about, bringing in folks and all that kind of stuff. But right now, and most of it's Lionel Messi, according to our friends at Transfermarkt, Inter Miami has a deeper value of players than Boca Juniors does by, I think, €6 million. So you look at the back, they've got 36 on the roster, which means they've got to do some trimming unless they want to send some folks down to Inter Miami CF2. You look at the back. Tomas Avilas is 19. He's a U22. He won't get moved. Kamal Miller, Sergei Krivtsov, McVeigh, Frey, Saylor. Those are your center backs right now. So if you wanted to do something with those individuals, with both Frey, who's 21, but he would be a part of the U22s, Sergei Krivtsov at 32. So here's what you're staring at. Tomas Avilas, Kamal Miller, Sergei Krivtsov, Christopher McVeigh, Ian Frey, Ryan Saylor. Those are your center backs. And looking at the contracts that are currently under discussion, and there's a lot of them, and technically because of it not being the end of the calendar year, that's why some folks are still being mentioned. I mean, technically our friends at Transfermarkt still have Joseph Martinez under contract to enter Miami, but that's because his contract goes for another 5 days. So here's what you're staring at. Krivtsov is a 24, meaning that his contract ends in 24. Same with Christopher McVeigh. Ryan Saylor is also a 24. Ian Frey is a 24. So you're staring at most of the guys. There are a couple of guys that you can fiddle with to make it all fit. There's a couple of them. You know, Victor Ulloa is under contract for another 5 days. Dixon Arroyo under contract for another 5 days. So there are a couple of guys that are there. But KFC vaguely remembers Rojas as a perennial underperformed. But that child could be Man U's fault. I don't think you're far off. I don't think you're that far off, but just the notion of bringing in, once again, someone else who is a part of the Messi and Friends idea and making it work. So keep an eye out on this. And if you were to continue to bring in these individuals, you know, Mark Rojo, obviously with that dollar valuation from our friends at Transfermarkt, you sit there and it's like, okay, I get it. Now, where do we go from here? Do we bring him in? And what do we bring him in here to do? So we'll see what happens with there, but it's just the continuing interest to turn this into Messi and Friends. And once again, we knew this was coming the second that he walked in the door when he brought in Jordi Alba and Sergi Busquets. But now, once again, as we continue to roll forward into this deal, it was about getting through that first season. You got through that first season. You got some hardware. Now you're heading season number 2, and you're already the favorite in the Eastern Conference, if not Major League Soccer. Yet those who are looking at those kinds of things will sit there and I want to know the beginning of the season, how Inter Miami is going to be at the beginning of the season after this globetrotting tour that they're on, where they go from El Salvador to the Far East from El Salvador to Saudi Arabia to the Far East, and then work their way back eventually here to the United States before they get into the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza and get in through all of that. I want to know how their legs are legitimately after spending most of February on a plane. That's what I want to know about January and February on a plane and how they start their regular season. That, to me, is going to be interesting. And how many of the older players, when they are in El Salvador, when they're in Saudi Arabia, when they're going up against CR38, when they're in Hong Kong, when they're in when they're in Japan, I want to see how all of that evolves. So I want to see how this continual globe-trotting and expansion of the Inter Miami brand, which is what it is, and you cannot blame them for doing that. I want to see how they are at the beginning of the season. Because training camp and globe-trotting are two different things. And how can you balance one and the other? How can you balance one and the other if you're globe-trotting, you have all of these veterans? Let's stare at ages here for a second. Ulloa still under contract at 31. Dixon Arroyo, 31. Jordi Alba, 34. Kritzhoff's 32. Jean Mota is 30. Robert Taylor, 29. Stefanelli's 29. Franco Negri, injured, is 28. Messi's 36. Busquets is 35. DeAndre Yedlin is 30. Gregory's 29. And you've still got a lot of wear and tear on these guys. And I know that there's also talk about bringing in Julian Gressel as a part of the discussion. Frankly, bringing Julian Gressel to this part of this discussion, I wonder where he's going to play and how he's going to fit. Or is this just making sure that all of your weaponry is in offense? Damn the torpedoes, take the over. This is what we're going to do in 2024. Which wouldn't surprise. And that's fine if that's how you want to play it. But the more and more that I'm seeing all of these older players being considered on defense and all these familiar names that are being paired up with you on offense, take the over. Take the over, take the over, take the over, because it appears, and we saw this in some of the games in 2023, especially in cup competitions, where it was crazy, it was back and forth. The final against Houston's another example of this. I would have thought, no, Gressel's not officially official, not officially official yet, but I'll say it's a heavy lean. Yeah, the 2-3-5 formation. And Hutch, you're not really wrong. But it appears, and like I said, it's cool if this is the way you want to play. Absolutely cool if this is how you want to lay it out. But going in, if this is how you want to lay out, make sure that your fan base knows and gets it. They see all of these shiny objects coming in, all these names, all these different folks. Those folks that I mentioned with those ages that are north of 30, they ain't getting younger. This isn't like, Roger Clemens, who got better as he got older for some strange reason. And I don't know how that happened. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. How you doing? How you doing? But all of these older players and all of this offensive firepower, and KFC, yeah, Marcus Rojo, and like I said, what we do, one of the first questions I will ask Drew Dickinson when he comes in for his hit and run at 10:30. Let's ask about that, about what his thoughts are specifically about Marcus Rojo. How do you lay this out? You know that they're going to score goals. Suarez, Messi, and when they win, they've got to win, because you know that these guys are not going to be playing every single match, especially when you get closer to the Copa and you get all that schedule compression that we talked about when the schedule came out. We talked about it with Atlanta United, and how you're looking at 5 matches in, 5 matches in 18 days, was it? 6 in 21 or 2? You know that these guys aren't going to be playing in all those matches. So you've got to lay it out there. And you try to get off to the hot start and try to give yourself some points and some buffer going into Copa. Do you try to make that push? Try to front load everything. Try to front load as many points as possible And with everybody north of 30, do you sit there and you go, okay, all right, we've given ourselves a bit of a cushion, and you try to figure out, okay, how to manage it from there? Is it treated like we've seen in other divisions in other countries, where trying to get into a playoff, you got to get out to the hot start? So does Inter Miami try to end up trying to do the same thing, where they front load all the older players, front load the starting lineup, try to get as many goals as possible to work on goal difference and all those kinds of things? Is that what they do here? And do not be surprised if that is, in fact, what they end up doing. Try to figure out, okay, how do we navigate this schedule with this roster being what it is and what it could be? Yeah, and Michael, you're probably right. Michael says, I haven't looked in depth, but with the Miami home match being on a Wednesday, Messi probably ain't playing in the A. That's probably true. And you're going to get a lot of teams, especially the closer you are to international windows, and the more that you end up with these the schedule compression and these older players. Here would be my advice. If you want to go try and find a match to go see, and again, I'm not saying ditch your season tickets by any stretch of the imagination, regardless of what team you're following. But if you want to make some kind of a pilgrimage attached, do it early in the season. I mean, we don't know, Michael, but odds are you're probably not wrong at this point as we look at things. But you can also look at Suarez and Alba and Busquets and Marcus Rojo and all those other players. I know that Messi is a drawing card, and he might get a cameo if and obviously not knowing how Inter Miami will have done in the schedule with wins and losses and points and standings and all that kind of stuff leading into that matchup. Morning, D. Graham. We don't know. We don't know, obviously, what we don't know because we're not there yet. Obviously, looking at a schedule in a schedule compression form right off the top, literally, if you're just looking at the schedule, you think, okay, midweek, you're kind of your spidey senses are up a little bit. But obviously, like I said, you don't know about injuries, you don't know about recovery and all this kind of stuff. No doubt. And you're not the only person that would love to see him play in person. But like I said, as of right now, it would depend on how they're doing in the standings and where they are right now and who's healthy and who's not and how many minutes and those kinds of things. So don't get rid of your tickets and just be ready for it because, like I said, we haven't started the season yet. And there are a lot of things that we don't know leading into that game. Inter Miami might need a win. They might need that 3 points on the road to help them out with a tiebreaker. So when that game comes in the midweek as we get closer, then we can sit there and extrapolate a little better when it comes to what the roster looks like and what the starting lineup may look like, those kinds of things. Just enjoy it for right now. Enjoy it at face value for right now. And we can also enjoy sitting there and staring at the roster for Inter Miami and sitting there going, okay, how are they going to fit all these folks in under the cap? Oh, yeah, he's a high TAM player. Okay. David Beckham will find a way. David Beckham will find a way to make sure all of these friends will find a way to play at Inter Miami because you can make it back in jersey sales. You can make it back in all kinds of other entertainment aspects of it all. This is a three-dimensional approach to looking at things. For those that want to get the Messi and the Jordi Alba and the Busquets and the Suarez, frankly, right now, I'd love to know how the jersey sales are. I know we're not going to get those kind of numbers for quite some time, but the second Luis Suarez got announced, I want to know what the jersey sales were. And I wonder how many times a Campana 9 got sent out by mistake. And the folks at Fanatics and Major League Soccer are sitting there going, Suarez 9, what? Don't they mean Campana? Oh, But I want to know how many times Bex is busy in purchase mode in general, just bought chickens. I was not aware of that. But you end up with all of these different ways to try to make up the capital that you're investing in these players. And believe me, Bex, Moss Brothers, and Chris Henderson, they're looking at every possible, probable element of the collective bargaining agreement to try and figure out, okay, where are things and where can we fit them and where can we fit this guy and how can we get him and all that kind of stuff. And if the Moss Brothers lose money and if Beckham loses money and Chris Henderson loses money in Inter Miami, it's a write-off anyway. But how much as we sit here and say that we have with the endorsement deal that Lionel Messi signed with the league, where it is about sponsors paying and league paying and getting a piece of the action. No, they haven't said they're moving Campana yet. But once again, it's that fair power. Campana's jersey number is moving. That's the only part we do know. Campana will no longer be 9. Luis Suarez is 9. If they move Campana, they might be able to get some good resources for him, but I think that you're going to need Leo Campana because of the age up front. You're going to need that kind of reinforcements. I don't think they'll move him. Might buy down his salary a little bit. He's obviously got to change his number. Unless somebody gives them the offer that they can't refuse. I think Campana is there as reinforcements for what's going on. I think that Leo Campana is like you're not even in an emergency break glass. I mean, it's like he will come in, he will give you the starts that you want. He'll fill in the minutes that you're needing if folks are, a little creaky getting out of bed. That's what I think you're looking at with Leo Campana, unless Inter Miami gets the offer they can't refuse. I haven't seen any gossip, rumor, or innuendo involving a move with Leo Campana. I have not. I will certainly do a check right now since we are having this kind of a discussion. But let's see if we get Leo Campana. Let's see if anybody is kicking the tires on Leo Campana. At Leo Campana 9 still on Twitter, by the way. Now saying that Campana will be wearing number 8. And he decided to stay despite having other offers to leave because Leo Campana knows what he's getting into. So Campana will be wearing 8 instead of 9. Since Luis Suarez basically just came in and went, yo, bro. 9, you hand it over. So Campana will be wearing 8, and he's going to stay. He understands the value of possibly chasing after a title. Like I said, that's just from a cursory search in the last, 45 seconds. There's always the offer you can't refuse. If Inter Miami gets the offer they can't refuse, maybe Campana would have to agree to it, considering that Campana wants to stay. So Campana will be going in. He'll be doing all of his super subbing, spot starting, and all that kind of stuff. Happy Boxing Day, Tom. And we'll be getting into what happened in the Prem in about 45 minutes. We might dip into it with Arsenal a little bit, considering that there is a reffing down here moment we probably have to discuss with Bart. But in earnest, Prem and Proper, the reviews at 10:30, where Drew will come in and discuss Marcus Rojo. He'll come in and discuss the sale of Manchester United. And the news out of the Telegraph this morning that there might be a plan to raise RAZE Old Trafford. Tear it down. Morning, Harry. Yes. Yeah, Newcastle getting rolled by Nottingham Forest. Sorry, Alex. Sorry, Maddie. Sorry, Harry. And we got the 2 games coming up at 10 o'clock in about 15 minutes. And so we'll, like I said, we'll be kind of cruising through the Prem with Maddie and with Drew and maybe a little bit with Bart. But Bart coming up in 15 minutes. He will be discussing some reffing down here, the year in review in U.S. soccer, and what he's been able to glean from U.S. soccer this season. And on the men's side, the women's side, the corporate side, all that kind of stuff. So we'll do kind of a year in review with Bart when it comes to the national teams, and we'll discuss what's going on in Bart's mind when it comes to reffing down here. There were a couple of moments. Like I said, there's one moment in particular that stuck in my mind this week in the Prem. No, it is not the Arsenal moment. And then getting into a discussion with him about Nottingham Forest, which is where that moment is coming from. And now Nottingham Forest is sitting there and stomping their feet and saying, we don't want this guy now as a center ref in our games anymore because of what happened. So that's coming up in about 15 minutes with Bart and our visit from our friends at the Soccer for US POD and from our buddy Bartimus Prime 19 on the 280 character app. So once again, kind of resetting. What have you gotten so far for the holidays? How was your holiday? Because I would be remiss as someone who interacts with you every single day. How was your holiday? Did you get the pony? What'd you get for the holidays? What was under the Festivus tree? Did you have your feats of strength in the airing of grievances? And what's your plan for this week? For this week, tomorrow, we will be back at Office HD. We'll see if Dylan Butler can join us for kind of a year-ender when it comes to Major League Soccer. We'll do the same with Nico Moreno on Thursday. Friday, we'll kind of do like a best of, meaning we'll be here, but like looking back at 2023 and everything going on there in a bunch of different divisions. We'll talk about it all and see who wants to drop by on a Friday. Friday. Well, it's too early. Too early to do that. And I'm not sitting properly to be able to do that. But okay, so Tom, just be safe coming home. Tom is still in Charleston, about ready to head back. So how was your Festivus? How was the airing of grievances? Did you have the feats of strength? Who won? What'd you get? I got some pretty cool stuff. But for me, the way that I always handle Christmas is people sit there and say, well, what do you want? It's like, just get me things I need. Because much like Jarrett, I end up, if there's something that I want, that's something that's cool, I end up getting it for myself anyway. So I don't have the physical and mental capacity to sit there and think of, okay, what do I want? Get me things I need, because I never end up shopping for them. So, I mean, literally it was like a gift card for an auto detailing, because the Subaru definitely needs to get cleaned. The wireless keyboard that I have in Office HD is kind of fumbling it right now, and so we're going to retire it, and I got another one of those. Got some cool clothes and things like that. Tom had to do lots of cooking. Mom wanted beef Wellington for Christmas, so that meant that the airborne DJ was having a ground attack of beef Wellington. It's been a while since I can't even remember the last time I had beef Wellington, but yeah, for me, it was a very, very functional holiday. It's like, get me things I need, because I never think to do that myself. I'm always thinking about things that would be cool for me, and I get those first. So people are like, well, what do you want for Christmas? And I was like, well, I kind of need some shirts to go under sweaters. I kind of need stuff for the car. I need stuff for the office, those kinds of things. I'm a very functional individual when it comes to all of the shopping that goes on in and around my universe. And so for me, first and foremost, it ends up, it's just get me the functional things and I'll be cool. I always try to shop for the boss and for everybody. I always try to think of things that I think would be cool for that person, and then just get me stuff that's functional for me. That I'm always an outbound thinker when it comes to Christmas and Christmas gifts. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and what to watch. And there's a lot to watch today. And with it being Boxing Day, that's the beauty of it all. So when we look at, and I have to do this because, once again, because I am not in the office, I'm a computer down. So I have to kind of do things a little differently. Spurs are monitoring Bournemouth's Dominic Solanke as they look to sign a striker in the summer. That's from the three-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. If I'm Bournemouth, I'm hanging on to Dominic Solanke to get me through this season and then selling him in the offseason. Newcastle and Juve, the current frontrunners to sign Calvin Phillips from Manchester City next month. Inter Milan are moving forward in talks to sign Club Brugge's Tejan Buchanan, who has also attracted interest from Manchester City and Bournemouth. That comes from Fabrizio Romano. Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag has refused to confirm whether striker Anthony Martial will be sold in January. Longtime favorites Barca could miss out on signing Palmeiras' 16-year-old Estevão Willian. With Chelsea, Manchester City, Manchester United, and PSG all lining up to sign the Brazilian winger. That's from our friends at Mundo Deportivo. Former Liverpool sporting director Julian Ward has emerged as a surprised candidate for the same role at Manchester United. Real Betis making progress over a permanent deal for Leeds United Spanish midfielder Roca, who's on loan at the Spanish club. And that is the early round of gossip, rumor, and innuendo on the day, because everybody's like, that's the day after Christmas. We got rumors? No, we don't really have rumors yet. So there's a couple of rumors out there, and that was where we were. So Tuesday, decent amount of stuff, but most of it's in England. The league we don't talk about or promote is on FS2 at 1:00. USA has already shown us Newcastle, Nottingham Forest. They've got Bournemouth and Fulham at 10 Eastern. Burnley, Liverpool at 12:30. Manchester United, Aston Villa at 3. Universo is simulcasting the Burnley match and the Manchester United match. ESPN Plus has the Belgian Pro League. They've already shown Genk and Royal Antwerp, and then they've got a nightcap. Wow. Bruges and Union Saint-Gilloise at 2:40. So that would mean it's a 7:40 kick at least. I don't know what Belgium is in the transformation of time. And then they've got a quadruple header in the championship. They've already shown Preston North End and Leeds, Rotherham and Middlesbrough's at 10 o'clock, Birmingham City, Stoke City's at noon. And as Nick's mentioned, his Foxes at Leicester City are at Ipswich at 2:40. Peacock has the other 10 o'clock match, Sheffield United and Luton Town. That is a big match at the bottom of the table. And we still do not have a date on the replay of Bournemouth and Luton Town after the Tom Lockyer collapse and caused that match to be abandoned with about 30 minutes to go. So we don't have a return date on that yet. Looking at the other papers and seeing where things stand, any other stories of, that we've got to keep an eye on. And for those of you that missed it, let me go back and I will, this is your kind of your look forward at 10:30 from the Telegraph. And once again, when it's Ducker and White, when Ducker is involved, it's a big story. When Ducker and White are involved, and thank you, Michael, 6 hours. So that's like an 8:40 start. Wow. When Ducker and White are involved, it's heavy duty. And they claim this as an exclusive. Exclusive. I feel like I need to have the thunderclap or something like that. Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the Glazers have been urged to demolish an outdated Old Trafford and build a, quote, really innovative and exciting, end quote, new stadium by the architects in charge of Manchester United's redevelopment project. Long overdue plans to overhaul and expand a tired Old Trafford that is, quote, reaching the end of its natural life, or build a new stadium, have been in limbo for more than a year amid the Glazers' drawn-out strategic review, which is in quotation marks. Sir Jim Ratcliffe has pledged an initial £237 million toward Old Trafford's infrastructure needs on top of the £1.03 billion deal announced on Christmas Eve that saw him take 25% stake in the club, full control of football operations from the Glazers. Sources close to Ratcliffe told the Telegraph there would have to be, quote, a very detailed scoping exercise on what needs doing to Old Trafford, end quote, and that the British billionaire recognized the stadium would require far greater investment in the future. And let's see, a team led by Populous, the global architecture design firm behind Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which is still looking for a corporate sponsor. And management consultants Legends International were appointed in April last year to create a master plan. 3 options currently on the table would involve either a small makeover project, expansion of the south stand over the adjacent railway, and complete redevelopment of the existing ground, or the creation of an entirely new stadium. Chris Lee, chief executive of Populous, said there was, quote, recognition within the club that something has to be done, end quote, but he warned that inaction was not a realistic option with Old Trafford having reached a point where everything is nearing its sell-by date, that's in quotes, and the club at risk of losing further grounds on rivals without crucial updates. Lee believes United should give serious consideration to knocking down Old Trafford and building a world-leading stadium on surrounding land that would allow them to keep playing at their 113-year-old home while work commenced and not suffer any hit to match day income. United earned a little over 136 million pounds in match day income last season, the equivalent of $4 million a match. And there's a map that is posted where Old Trafford in and of itself is right up against the railway, and Manchester United has more property to the northwest, and it leads itself down the river, but it's along. But to fit a stadium in that space, you literally would have to try and find a way to redirect the water, which would be an interesting thing to do. The Agadir Graham Antwerp is 6 hours, so that's an 8:40 start tonight for the late match in the Belgian Pro. Asked what his preference would be in an interview with the Telegraph, Lee said, "Well, I would say this, wouldn't I? But I feel the new build may well turn out to be the most cost-effective solution. Yes, the initial outlay is obviously the highest of the three options, but there is so much land available to develop there. But currently, there's like the land that's there alongside the railway. Old Trafford, for those of you that do not know. Yeah, New Trafford. It's New Trafford. But currently, Old Trafford is up against a rail line, and it is up against water. And so if you wanted to build a new project, it would have to be to the northwest. And the only property that they have available would be on top of the water. So I don't know how that would work. So this will be an interesting question. Manchester United might have to buy more property and figure out how to build New Trafford, as we're going to call it. We're going to call it New Trafford, Hutch, just as a public service. To build New Trafford right now, you're going to have to buy more land. So we'll see what happens. Lee continued, they could carry on using the existing ground while building work is underway, meaning no decline in match day revenues. Architecturally, in the space available, you could do something really innovative and exciting. There would be no space constrictions. Yeah, you got to buy more land. Estimated redevelopment and expansion of Old Trafford in its current form would cost upwards of £800 million and has been cited internally as an 8-year project. A new stadium could cost as much as £2 billion. Ratcliffe has pledged £158 million upon completion of his deal, with a further £79 million by the end of next year, in addition to his purchase price for his quarters stake through his investment vehicle, which involves no debt. Glazers are going to pocket more than $500 million from the deal. How would the full cost of a redeveloped stadium be funded? And so Tom has pictorial evidence. The train that goes from Manchester to Liverpool goes right by Old Trafford. But yeah, I don't know. Looking at the property, and like I said, our friends at the Telegraph have done this deep dive this morning. I don't know how it would fit. You'd have to buy more stuff. Manchester United Supporters Trust have called for talks with the club and Ineos to discuss their plans going forward. Significant challenges, according to United's chief operating officer. Redeveloping it would present significant challenges, and the club are continuing to explore all options. Significant challenges in terms of complexity, timing, cost, and disruption, not least because of the inherent constraints around our site, including proximity to the adjacent railway, line, canal, public access routes, and housing. So, yeah. New Trafford, you're going to have to buy more land. That's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so. That's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to buy more land if you are remotely interested in doing something that would involve a new Trafford. So we'll see what happens there. It is 10 o'clock Eastern time, and so since it is Monday on a Tuesday. Hey, he's got the microphone. He's getting the microphone ready. Do I have an official thumbs up from you, Bart? See, he's in okay, we got the thumbs up. He's in the green room. And so that means one thing is that we now activate Bart Keeler. So how was Festivus?
Fantastic, John. Fantastic.
What'd you get? Did you get a pony?
I did not get a pony. No. I got new tailgating equipment, so that was kind of fun.
Okay, so what'd you get?
2 new good tailgate camp chairs and some other accessories for the grill.
Okay, yeah, because
Nice.
man's got to ask, when you have these kinds of things going on. What I wanted to do with you, since this is your last appearance for 2023, in addition to reffing down here and anything else on your mind as we go, as we always like to discuss things. I also, as we go further down the line, I wanted to kind of get a bit of a retrospective on 2023 from a national team perspective, national news, women's and men's, and all these kinds of things, and possibly maybe doing a little. Well, actually, tell you what, we'll save the crystal ball till January 2nd. So when we're doing Tuesday, we're doing next Monday on next Tuesday.
Monday on a Tuesday.
Yes. So when we do next Monday on a next Tuesday, then we'll talk about 24. But I want to talk about 23 from a national perspective as well, as a part of your segment here before Maddie and Drew vent their spleens about their respective clubs at 10:30.
Maddie's going to be totally happy about what happened this morning, right?
No, she and Alex are amongst the same group. It is, but they're both Newcastle fans.
They're not happy with that result.
No, no, and especially how Nuno went against type. This Nuno I'm not aware of. Chris Wood hat trick. Maybe stopping Chris Wood would have been a good idea this morning. I don't know. But there were a couple of moments, what we always like to do in reffing down here. And one of them was in the Arsenal match. And I know that folks were in an uproar about, handball, no handball in the box, that kind of a thing. And a moment in the Nottingham Forest match with Willy Bolly that created a second yellow and a red, which drew the ire of Nottingham Forest people everywhere. Where do you want to go first?
Well, let's start with Nottingham Forest, because that is probably the most controversial and contentious event that happened prior to this morning's footy action. So let's start there.
Okay.
Which I don't think there's anything controversial in that game this morning. I just, we've started a new round.
Yes, yeah, we're in festive fixtures. So the festive fixtures round of reffing down here, that'll end up with next week.
Yeah. Before this, no festivities. Not festive.
No. There was no Festivus or anything like that. And the moment that honestly sticks in folks' minds, okay, Willy Bolly, he got the yellow. That we understand. He got the first yellow, great. Then he gets the second yellow in quick succession, and he's wondering what happened. And you look at replays, and he was the one that got stepped on. And then you end up with review, and it wasn't reversed, and he ends up with a second yellow and a red, and fourth having to play with man down.
So this is the tough part, because we know VAR is for match-changing incidents, right? Unfortunately, a second yellow card, even though it does result in a red card, yellow cards aren't part of all that necessarily. So, you're reviewing, is it a yellow card or not? Not is it a red card? I think most sane people would agree that is nowhere close to being a red card. And I would very much argue that it's not even a yellow card foul, to be honest. As you pointed out, Bolly is the one who gets stepped on. He clearly wins the ball. Yes, his follow through is a little extreme, but it's not like his foot was anywhere in a dangerous position, and he's the one who ends up getting stepped on. I'll be honest, I thought it was an absolutely blown call from the referee. I'm sorry, it was, because not only was it, to me, still not even a yellow card, it should not have been resulting in a sending off at all. It sucks that we can't really review it for a true red card, but it was something that really annoyed me on that day, because it really did, because it was such an egregious mistake that affected Forest in that game. Now, granted, they came out. Unfortunately, they come out and they do well until the very, very end. But,
right.
Would having 11 men on the field have changed that result? I don't know. But you can definitely say that red card changed the match. And more importantly, that red card should, in my opinion, not have been a red card.
Telegraph has a report that says Nottingham Forest have written to Howard Webb to demand Rob Jones be suspended from officiating their matches following the blunder and sending off Willie Bawley.
This would be a dangerous precedent to set that, I don't want this referee refereeing my matches, right?
I don't like him anymore. He can't play.
But I do agree that there maybe needs to be some sort of like, hey, maybe he doesn't need to referee our match for the rest of the year, because at that point, this is from a referee standpoint, it could lead to problems in the next match. Mm-hmm. And this happens a lot at my level where, unfortunately, whether they like it or not, a lot of clubs get me a lot, and I get a lot of the same teams a lot because, I'm put on these games that are high level, mostly the older age groups. You're going to see me a lot. I know Coach Steve out of Rush Union, I don't referee his teams a lot, but I do referee a lot of the same teams at Rush Union, and I see a lot of the same coaches week in and week out. Same at UFA up and coming. And it's not that there's bad blood, but you do remember times that the referee wasn't kind to you. And that can spill over with coaches making comments about previous matches. And, it is something that I would entertain, just because I think both sides would probably benefit from not officiating a match, that referee officiating a match anytime soon. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, Webb has contacted Nuno to confirm Jones made a serious error in showing the second yellow. The club want Webb to go further, having already written to him this season to complain about a decision involving the same guy, while they've also demanded any recording of the conversation between referee and VAR in relation to the incident, as well as that which saw them denied a penalty for a handball by Adam Smith. And then to compound the error, Bowley was suspended today, as the laws of the game do not allow automatic bans incurred for second yellow cards to be overturned, even as Howard Webb has admitted serious error.
Yeah. Again, a difficult situation, because unfortunately this is, at present time, what happened is not fixable. Mm-hmm. And that's the frustrating part.
They also want to know why a penalty was not awarded after the ball hit Smith's hand when both his feet appeared to be inside the box, with his arm adjudged by VAR to have been outside the area.
Yeah, that one I don't necessarily disagree with what they said, but I didn't see any sort of – I think the problem is I didn't see an angle personally, and I'm just watching on television, that would have shown whether the hand was in or outside of the box. But his feet were pretty far inside the box, so I'd have to wonder how his hand was also not – on the line or fully inside the penalty area, But I'm trying to do my geometry best, my trigonometry, and going, okay, well, how does this work if his feet are 2 feet inside the box, but his hand is still somehow outside that?
Well, but you can't do trig if
you can't. Exactly. You have to have clear and obvious evidence that shows that this was or was not a penalty. And to me, that just goes back to why don't you have a camera angle that can show that? That seems a little weird to me, that in the Premier League, the best, richest, bestest, most fantasticest league in the world, John, doesn't have that camera angle. Am I wrong? Are they not the best, most fantasticest league in the world?
The best, most fantasticest? Yeah. I think that is actually on the marketing. That is on the marketing program. But to your point, not every stadium is the same. They don't all look like Riverfront, Three Rivers, Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, to where you have the same makeup, the same camera angles, and the same capabilities for cameras to be positioned. What are you talking about?
Those were very different, John. One was on a river, one was on Three Rivers, and one was in the middle of a parking lot. They're very different.
That is absolutely true. The geography that's attached. But what you're having here, Turf Moor is not the same as Kenilworth Road, is not the same as the Vitality, is not the same as Old Trafford, is not the same as St. James. So you're trying to sit there and fit cameras in those best positions, the slashes at the 30s and things like that. And so you're going to have moments in the best, most fantasticest league of the world where you can't play trig, and you got to go with the information that's there with you.
Exactly. But and that's the unfortunate reality, is you just can't go back and do that, oh well.
Yeah, well, and this is continuing our stuff with Mr. Jones and me.
Don't forget the vet. No, you can't forget the vet.
No,
the carpet that was known to take out people's knees, legs, ankles, and I think brains as well at many points,
and had people throwing and booing at Santa Claus. The Forest want Jones suspended from officiating them until all concerns are addressed. I think that's a bit far-fetched and high-handed.
Well, what does concerns addressed mean? Do you want them to come, give a gift basket or edible arrangement and say, I'm sorry? Again, I think that it's completely fair, and the fact that they have had problems with him twice this year is a legitimate request to say, hey, let's not have him for our next match, please.
Yeah.
Or even, take a month or two off or whatever. But the idea that he can just somehow not be assigned to you is problem. I mean, I get it. I truly do. But the reality is that is unlikely to be able to truly happen, because you're just, especially where Nottingham sits in the table, you're going to get a referee like that because you're not higher up in the table. And also you were playing, who was that, Bournemouth, right?
Yeah.
Also not a high up in the table team. So you're getting, whether people like to admit it or not, certain referees do get certain games for a certain reason. You notice Atlanta United does seem to get good referees.
Guido Gonzalez Jr.
Yeah. But we also get a lot of the bad ones when we're playing teams like, Miami. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. They're supposed to be the best team that's ever existed. Luis Suarez, if you need a knee, don't come asking me, because I also have two bad ones. So
the best, most fantasticest team in Major League Soccer just asked.
That still can't make the playoffs. But hey, congrats, you won a fake trophy.
Oops.
And then complain about match congestion.
Well, then don't win as many games. Yeah, don't be in as many tournaments.
You clearly had no problem not winning games in the league. You could have just practiced that in the cup competitions.
And then you got beat by Hell in a Shell. You got beat by your favorite Ben Olsen and the Houston Dynamo. The incident in the Arsenal game, I know that was drawing a lot of ire.
Which one?
As well. The handball, not a
they
handball.
They were both right.
Of course they were. And that's why I wanted to bring them up in this segment.
No, I think my stance on so the handball against Odegaard, I fully understand the outrage, because his hand is not on the ground, right? So the what they were using was this clause in the laws of the game that talks about if your arm is basically on the ground, we're not going to penalize you for that, because how else are you supposed to even try to get up off the field or whatever? So They kind of liberally applied that to, well, he's falling down, so his arm was there to kind of brace himself as he fell. He never did have to truly catch himself from falling, which, fine. What I would say is, I think these are the types of handballs that we would like to keep out of the game, if that makes sense. We would like to not have to call these little ticky-tack ones where a guy is falling over, or it's just a pass that happens to be going the wrong way. I understand the outrage on it, though. To that, I would say, Liverpool maybe score on a 5v1.
Oh, spoken by the Arsenal fan.
So it's the referee's fault y'all didn't score in a 5v1. So
yeah, they did have those kinds of moments in that particular match. The study did come out, by the way, that they looked back, I think, over the last 2 decades, and there's only one instance in the last 2 decades where the team that did not win the title was outside the top 4 at Christmas. And I think it was the year that Manchester City. That was Manchester City was in 8th.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that. Yes.
Then they stormed back, and Pep Guardiola is now saying, "Okay, you doubt us? Okay, fine, cool." And then
I find myself in a difficult situation today, John, because I have to want good things for Manchester United, and I don't love that position and feeling.
but Drew will be happy to accept your plaudits.
It makes me feel not great. Hey, listen, if y'all going to bunker ball your way to a win, might as well do it today because you haven't done it in the past, month and a half. Premier League manager,
bang,
month, though.
Bang, absolutely. Looking at the year in U.S. soccer from a national team perspective on the men's and women's side, I guess let's start with the women. Ladies first, because we do.
There's your word, John. Disappointing.
Okay, so when you look back, you mentioned disappointing. Let's work it forward a little bit as we go here with the discussion. You mentioned disappointing. Why?
Well, you didn't win the World Cup. I mean, unfortunately, that is the standard they've set, right? They could have finished third, and it would have been slightly disappointing. But I think what's disappointing is how and why they did not perform well at the World Cup. Obviously, right. The exit in the round of 16 is unideal and is a failure. Like, we have to call that what it is for this program. That's a failure. Not winning a World Cup for this program is a failure. If Alabama doesn't win a national championship, it's a failed season. I'm sorry. Paul. That's just the standard we have, Paul. If Georgia doesn't bark at 12 kids on a Saturday, then it's a failed Saturday for them. So you have standards that this program has. So it's disappointing from that regard. But it was disappointing because this team looked completely lost, completely unimaginative, and devoid of any real attacking power, which we've said all along is where their strength actually lies. I mean, we didn't concede but 3 goals all season, all year. That's impressive. We only conceded 1 the entire tournament, somehow lost, in the round of 16. But it's because you have all this attacking talent on the field, players who have won golden boots in leagues, the 2 reigning NWSL golden, like last 2 year golden boots in NWSL on that field. Lynn Williams, a 4-time, NWSL champion. Lindsey Horan, a Champions League winner and Division Feminine winner. All this attacking talent, and you can't manage to score but 4 goals in a tournament. That is disappointing as well. And you have to be critical because, again, this program has a standard that is higher than anything else in the world. And you can also be happy that the powers that be looked at this and said, yeah, that's not good enough, and made drastic changes to make sure that it would not be this, hopefully not be this way in the future. I mean, 2 people lost their jobs because of this. Kate Markgraf, I know that she decided to not stay on, but you have to also look at how she handled her job as GM of the women's national team program, and really call into question if she did anything right, because she hired some coaches who, quite honestly, one coach, Tracy Kevins, who I hope never coaches soccer ever again because she's a soccer terrorist. People want to talk about that with Berhalter. Kevins is worse. But
wow.
She took, a lot of young, promising talent, moved them into nothingness, and stunted the growth of the women's national team. And Markgraf allowed that to happen for multiple tournaments. She kept Vlatko around after it was very clear that from the 21 Olympics that he maybe isn't the person for the job. I still thought that the talent we had on the field should outclass the deficiencies in coaching. But yeah, it was disappointing for the women's national team. And there were a lot of problems that, again, we made wholesale changes. Markgraf out, Vlatko out. Again, I think they took too long to make that decision. But ultimately now you're looking at a thing and you go, okay, this was disappointing. This was a failure. This was a problem. And you went, well, how do we address it? And you go hire the best club, one of the best coaches in the world that you possibly could get. And quite honestly, the coach that I think most people thought we probably wouldn't be able to get, she was, I think, one of 2 or 3 coaches that you went, yeah, she's there, but it's not really a possibility. And you went out and got her. And so, yes, it was disappointing, but now you have to at least give the U.S. soccer credit for going, that's not good enough. We're going to make sure that we are doing the absolute best we can. This is great sounds of Atlanta play outside of my window.
I was going to say that they ain't coming after you there, are they?
No,
not yet. So. No, those were not the Manchester City and Manchester United police after you.
No.
Men's side, when it comes to the men's team in 2023, let's start with, since you gave me one word with the women, what word would you mention with the men?
Probably frustrating.
Okay.
I don't want to say apathetic, but maybe complacent, maybe a better word. I think the rehire Greg Berhalter was the opposite of the hiring of Emma Hayes. I'm not even going to sit here and tell you why Berhalter is or is not a good coach. That's not what I'm here to do, because I think I made it very clear that I thought he was fine, but I did not want him to continue on to a second term.
Yeah.
I think that is a very fair position to have. And anyone who says, oh, well, second cycle coaches are really good. And it's like, yeah, Didier Deschamps won a damn World Cup. Like that's my level. You have to surpass supremely the status you were at before you took over the job.
So you have to win. So you have to wear the You have to win the Interplanetary Cup, is what you're saying.
You do have to outshine what you did before. And if you look at Greg Berhalter and say, well, he qualified for a World Cup and made the knockout rounds because the last time we didn't qualify for the World Cup, you're admitting that not qualifying for the World Cup is a somewhat okay thing that happened, right? You're going, yeah, I mean, that the next guy who qualified, that's amazing. Oh my gosh, we have to keep him around. I just think that it was a move that indicated they were happy with where things were and didn't really want to take on the project of trying to grow and build on what had happened. And it's very fair to say that the matches we've had since then have been uninspiring.
But have you been at full strength in those matches? And
yes, for the most part, yes, you have. Yes, you can talk about not being super full strength against Trinidad and Tobago, but you can't. We were still not looking fantastic. Now, granted, I will admit that we looked pretty darn good away to Trinidad before Sergiño Dest went Super Saiyan. But it still is one of those things where Greg Berhalter's problems continue to show more often than the benefits that Greg Berhalter has. And, I think it's a little bit of a showing of stagnation, that you're okay with where we are instead of saying, how do we get something better? And that's just really where it is. Now, the players have, I think most of the players, especially you look at Pulisic and Weah and Musa, who moved from not great club situations into good club situations. That was good. I think individually, the end of 2020, the 2022-2023 season for a lot of players was not great. But now a lot of those players have turned it around. I mean, Ricardo Pepi, I know he's not playing a whole lot, but scoring a lot. You've got, Balogun at Monaco. You've got players in good positions now, and that is promising. So, I just think that it's frustrating because you kept a coach around who was, again, I'm not saying he was good or bad. I thought what he did was fine. It just seemed like you weren't trying to push the program forward and instead said, yeah, let's just run it back.
So then I guess this would be the moment of the year, but not for the right reason. Provided it loads in a time of facts.
Aquí tiene que ser amonestado. Pero qué tarjeta tanto. Y ojo, no le saquen la roja. Claro.
Yeah, the drums in the background are fantastic.
Está caliente por aquella del que cobraron lateral cuando le pegaron a él. Ah, bueno, esta doble amarilla. Si no la saca, el árbitro no puede dirigir nunca más. Le tiró un beso. Tiene que ser expulsado. Lo tratan de calmar los jugadores. Ahí está, doble amarilla. Muy bien Walter López. Pero muy bien Walter López. Una tontería, porque ahora no podrá jugar el próximo partido de este torneo, que es la semifinal de la Liga de Naciones.
The moment of the year for the wrong reason.
Well, and let's not, pretend like everything was bad, because there were highs, right? I mean, you look at the the Nations League run in March and January and June, right? The Nations League was a good success, right? I mean, you beat Mexico 3-0, you beat Canada 2-0. I think you prove that your best is the best in the region, right? And even the Gold Cup, going to the semifinal with that team, to me was still a pretty decent success, right? I think, again, there are positives within this year, but then you look at, are the positives making us better on the world stage? And I don't think they are.
One other thing that I wanted to
that was a really negative review of 2023, by the way. Hopefully 2024.
Well, that's what next Monday, next Tuesday next Monday on a Tuesday is all about. We're going to look at 24 next week on Tuesday.
Yeah. Also, Dan, 100%. D Graham 576 over there, ignoring the reason we didn't qualify in 2018 was because of technically a second term manager, and then a third repeated manager as well. So yeah, I mean, look, that's just where I am with Berhalter, is that I don't think he has improved as a coach yet.
Story from Osasu Obayuwana over at The Guardian, and I know this will shock you. This will absolutely stun you to wrap up your segment. FIFA has been heavily criticized for negotiating an 8.5-year tax exemption for the 2023 Women's World Cup when the players in Australia ended up paying 32.5% of their match fee income to the country's tax office. Football's world governing body is exempt from paying tax on any income in or from Australia until New Year's Eve 2028. But as The Guardian revealed last month, players from several countries forced to pay almost a third of their match fee income to the ATO. Stark contrast to the co-hosts, New Zealand, whose Inland Revenue Department exempted FIFA and the players from all taxes. I know that shocks you.
Listen, the IRS is going to get their money. The ATO sounds like they're the same. They're going to get their money. It's frustrating, right? This is, again, where FIFA, why didn't you have this settled beforehand? That's FIFA. They think that they're doing great things for women's soccer, when in reality it's the players and fans who are doing great things for women's soccer.
Nigeria, one of the countries hit by the tax rules, with the Super Falcons players receiving $42,500 of their $60,000 match fees as a result of the ATO deductions. Other teams playing all their games in Australia had the same level of taxation applied to them. South Africa's players were even worse off, as they've been hit by double taxation, the South African Revenue Service as well as the ATO. While they played most of the games in New Zealand, the ATO taxed them at pro rata for the days spent in Australia. Not a surprise, but,
that sucks, though. Man, that really... Especially because, look, yes, $42,000 is still a lot of money for, a month of work. But the fact is that you probably went into this thinking, oh, yeah, I'm not going to be taxed on this, or at least I'll be taxed very minimally on this.
Yeah.
And you're not.
Right.
And that really sucks, especially for these players, most of whom aren't making a whole lot of money at their club. Some of them not making any money from a professional standpoint, and some of whom aren't even getting paid by their federation outside of this one World Cup tournament. So that part sucks.
Yep. What are you up to on New Year's and New Year's Eve and New Year's Day?
I haven't gotten that far. I'm trying to get through tomorrow.
Smart man.
I'll be swimming in mayonnaise hopefully tomorrow. So.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Heading up tonight to Charlotte. We'll be at the bowl game tomorrow.
Duke's Mayo. Wow.
The Duke's
all right. Well,
Mayo Bowl. Also, by the way, I saw a clip on I forget which news. It was CNN or something. I don't know. They were decrying the state of college bowl games now, and they're talking about the names. And I'm like, I don't know. I think the Duke's Mayo Bowl is a fantastic bowl name. Personally,
they got to work on their creepy mascot, though.
You know what? I think the Mayo Bowl understands where it is in the pecking order of bowl games. The reality of bowl situations right now is you have 5 good bowl games that matter, maybe 4. And the rest are just exhibitions. I don't think the bowl games should go on the record.
You have 36 3.5-hour television programs that you're trying.
I don't think bowl games should go on your record. Like, I don't think that should count as a win or loss. And that, mainly because losing a bowl game to me doesn't indicate anything about you as a player or coach.
All right.
Especially nowadays where half the players are saying, no, I don't want to play because, they're worried about staying healthy for the draft.
16 starters out for the game against Georgia. Thank you very much. I'm going to be enjoying that one a whole lot. Enjoy the Duke's Mayo Bowl, sir. We will catch up with you next Tuesday when we have next Monday on a Tuesday.
Soccer refereeing down here on a Monday on a Tuesday. Yes.
Correct. All right. Be safe, my friend.
Enjoy talking to those Newcastle fans.
Maddie and Drew. So there goes Bart after he's had his coffee. So now we bring in folks. That's the official term. It is Maddie and Drew. And it is time for Prem and Proper, the review. And, first off, since Maddie, since you had the game this morning already, where apparently Newcastle forgot to mark Chris Wood repeatedly. It was a suboptimal morning for you with the 7:30 on Boxing Day.
I just want to say that Bart, uncalled for. I didn't appreciate that. I was over here waiting. And, I wanted to have a nice morning. I wanted to drink my coffee, wanted to wake up on this, after Christmas Day. Everything would be all great. And then that happened. It just, it is what it is. There's not much you can really do about it. I just, you would think that after everything that would have happened that we would have some structure. The answer is no. I have no idea what is happening. We just look so not together. We are just playing so oh my gosh, it's so I don't even have words.
So Drew, so she loses 3-1 to Nottingham Forest. But the thing about Newcastle is that they could have a starting 11 and an all injured starting 11. Mm-hmm. That's how things are currently structured right now for Newcastle. But Drew, we mentioned this morning in hour number 1 about the exclusive in the Telegraph. And when you have Ducker and James Ducker writing a story for the Telegraph, it's big news anyway. But then when you have Ducker and White, when you have more than one Telegraph reporter in a story that they call an exclusive, it's some heavy duty ish. And apparently now the thought about Manchester United is that they should come up with New Trafford instead of Old Trafford and just go ahead and build a new stadium and not renovate the old one. And that's what they're seriously considering as one of their options. Although they'd have to probably reroute some water and do some things if they don't have the land to make it happen. New Trafford, a possibility for you now.
I don't take much into stories like that have come out, so quick. I mean, Ratcliffe, the announcement was, not even 72 hours ago, and here we are bulldozing Old Trafford. I would think that the Manchester United Support Trust will have something to say about bulldozing such an artifact, such a gem that has been in place for such a long time. But look, we talked about it before. You got fans walking through the aisles or walking through the concessions and cement boulders falling down, landing on people. You've got leaks in the building falling through while people are trying to watch games. But back to the topic at hand here. He only put in about £300 million for new infrastructure for Old Trafford and for Carrington. So unless, we're going to, more debt is on the way, more investors are on the way to help bulldoze Old Trafford, I don't see where the money is going to come from for that. So that's my opinion. Like I said, such stories that come out so fast, whether or not who writes them to me, I've learned along the way. Let's hold your britches here. Let's cool your jets a little bit, and let's Ratcliffe. Let's let him have at least 2 months in to see what the infrastructure and the club is all about.
No, that's not allowed, sir. We're supposed to have reactionary thoughts, Maddie. Each and every single time that a topic comes up, we're supposed to be instantaneously reactionary.
Yeah, I
and have
know.
mastered.
What the heck?
It's all supposed to be Macaulay Culkin running through the house and Home Alone when he realizes he's left here. I mean, seriously, but but no, Maddie, to your earlier point, I think that you legitimately could have an all-injured starting 11 and a starting 11 that continues to get injured all the way. I think you have more injured players right now at Newcastle than you do actual healthy ones. You're trying to bring Alan Shearer out of retirement to make sure that he can put in a couple of minutes.
Honestly, at this point, I think even then it'd be a lot better than how we're playing now. It sucks because you have just the amount of injuries that have just been plaguing Newcastle. But even then too, it's yes, you have the injured starting 11, then you also have the starting 11 that's on the pitch right now. You have talented players still that are in that 11, and it's just something's not happening. Something's not clicking. They're not defending well. I mean, Chris Wood, credit to him, by the way. He had a phenomenal game. Jesus. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my Lord. You would think after the first goal that we would, maybe try to defend against him. No. They just were like, oh, you can have the ball. It's fine. They just gave it to him. It was a late Christmas gift.
It was all right. So let's play role reversal here. All right. So Drew, you are Eddie Howe. And I'm going to ask the same thing of Maddie, that Maddie gets to be Eric Ten Hag in a second. But Drew, you are Eddie Howe. Address your situation at Newcastle and help out your Newcastle supporters. How would you do it with the situation that you have on hand, the evidence that you have on hand, with the injuries and the healthy guys, injuries higher than healthy guys, having to bring in 17-year-olds who are being forced into duty, who are doing fairly well, but they still lack the minutes. If you're Eddie Howe, how do you address what's going wrong at Newcastle, and how do you stop it, sir, other than making sure that everyone's in bubble wrap?
Before I go any further, if I'm Eddie Howe, I'm questioning the media how I'm not being ridiculed and criticized just as bad as Eric Ten Hag is. But I'll digress, and we'll go on to the topic at hand here. It's same. RELAX. Like you said, we're ridiculed with injuries. If you believe in me, if you believe in the project, then stand with me. Look, Eddie Howe isn't abandoning his principles. He's still playing the way, still playing the shape, even though, like you said, injuries are causing lots of losses and a little bit of disarray within the team. But look, at least he's not abandoning his principles. It's not about one player on the pitch. It's one thing that Newcastle just obviously doesn't have a strong fair share of, and that's their youth. And if you're going to work on something, maybe it's time to start working on developmental of your youth program. I mean, look at United bringing in Kambwala and Kobe Mainu. Aside of that one mistake from Mainu, he was the best player in the field yesterday. So I think just focus on the task at hand, focus on what you can control. And what you control is who's healthy and who steps out on the field that day. But you can't abandon your principles. I, as Eddie Howe, I, as a coach, I cannot abandon my principles like other coaches. Wink, wink, wink. But yeah, just relax and trust the process.
All right. So Drew, Maddie, to help out Newcastle, is maintaining Aaron. He's maintaining Aaron Rodgers here at the dais for the Green Bay Packers. If you were Eric Ten Hag, help out Drew and the Manchester United supporters who have a very important game later today against Aston Villa. They're the late game today. If you were Eric Ten Hag, Maddie, what would you be telling folks about the current state of affairs with Manchester United? How would you fix things?
I mean, listen, you have to watch out for Villa. That is the biggest thing ever. I think as someone who's a Newcastle fan, you have to watch out for Villa. Villa is a strong team, and I think watching out for them, especially going into this game, you just got to be sharp. You can't let the defense. You have to stay focused. You can't let a situation like that. You have to stay focused, stay attentive to what's happening in the game, and not let it. Don't lose the game. Don't let it get so out of control that there's nothing you can do. Because I mean, especially from the past couple of games, just looking at the way Manchester United has been playing, they have the loss against Bournemouth, and they have the game against Brighton, and then they also have the game against Liverpool where they tied it 0-0, and then you got West Ham where they lost 2-0. You got to go into it and you have to take all of those results out of the way, go into it and focus on this game and focus on securing a win.
All right. So then, Drew, what did you think of Maddie as Erik ten Hag? What did you think of the advice? Just to make sure, take it a game at a time, focus on Villa, don't get too far ahead of things. Maddie as Erik ten Hag, what did you think?
Yeah, but I would also advise Erik ten Hag to kind of relinquish his obsession with his midfield setup. It's once again, and John and I, we all talked about it. I talked about it on the 3D this past week. You abandon your principles and you do everything in one game to focus on one man. And for some reason, Ten Hag still has an obsession with Scott McTominay. We got United has one win in the last 7. It's the longest streak ever without a goal, over 7 hours. Say that again, 7 hours without a goal. You have your wingers in Antony and Garnacho, who combined in the last 5 games have 11 passes to your striker, $70 million in the offseason, 20-year-old Rasmus Højlund, who thrives off of service. I think Ten Hag needs to figure out a way to get back to his principles and figure out a way to protect the young kids who you bring out on the field.
All right. Maddie, what do you think about festive fixtures in general? I mean, it's great for those of us who have nothing better to do between Christmas Day and New Year's Day to watch 3 matches in 7 days or something, to where players are being run into the ground. And this is where the teams at the bottom of the table always seem to jump up and bite the teams at the top. It's somewhere in festive fixtures. It could be at the beginning. It's either that first match or the last match where the team at the bottom of the table, and this time we've already seen it with Luton. Luton's getting numbers up there. What do you think about festive fixtures in general? What concerns you the most, and what do you enjoy about festive fixtures the most?
Ooh, I love it. I love it because, again, it's after Christmas, and, you have all the NFL games that happen on Christmas. You also have all of that
Never
stuff.
heard of the NFL. I have no idea what you're talking about. NFL, I have no idea.
What's that? I don't know. I love getting to kind of sit down on like the 26th and the 27th, like just getting to watch some Premier League. It's great. I as a fan, I love it. As a fan, I just love watching soccer. So it's so fun for me. But definitely as a fan of Newcastle and other teams as well, I mean, it's kind of like you said, John, these teams kind of in the bottom of the rankings get the chance to kind of, make their mark and get to kind of show, how you have people still kind of thinking about the games last weekend, thinking about that. And then, they have some tired legs, and then going into, you're immediately playing a game in less than 3 to 4 days. It's having that rest. And I think that's where you get those teams kind of at the bottom of that leaderboard, kind of jumping up and getting a hand on in those other teams. I mean, it's fun though. It's fun soccer. It's a lot of fun. Especially, it's not fun when Newcastle loses 3-1, but it's fun getting to watch other teams play and get to see that. Because if I don't have a team to root for, I'm rooting for the underdog. That's just kind of a thing that I do. I just think it's fun, but I love it. I think it's so fun, and I'm so happy that we get to do it. So.
All right. So, and Drew, I know that we're at the end of your hit and run here. So your last thoughts, A, on festive fixtures, and B, anything else on your mind before you go?
Festive fixtures, it's kind of just like what Maddie said. For me, you look at it on the fan perspective. A lot of times during the season, you're working and you don't have any time to bring the family to, out to the park to watch your favorite team, or just to have a family night out, family day out. Now with the festive fixtures, there's so many, within this 10-day period. I mean, there's 10 games just this weekend alone. And it's got to be nice for the people who aren't even able to get out, or the people here in America who never get a chance to relax, get back and sit back and watch it because they're working. Now you have the holiday season off and you get your chance to catch up, relax. But I also like what Maddie said as far as the rest and relaxation period. It's a grind. It's a grind for the boys. It's a grind for the coaches. It's a grind for the staff. So it's where that mentality comes in. Are you mentally strong enough to play, 180 minutes in a 5-day span, or 3 games in a 5-day span? It boils down to really is what you're made of.
All right, cut the promo for me before you go. What else is what's going on in the world of the 3D?
Well, I tell you what, it's after watching the West Ham game a couple days ago, it's very obvious that this project isn't working. Dead last in the league in chances created, and you just look at the attacking core that United has. It's unbelievable to have a stat like that when you have a Maestro and Bruno Fernandes, who, mind you, is most of the time being pushed out of position to accommodate Scott McTominay. But I digress. I once again, when that lineup gets pushed out and you see that midfield 3 with the double 10 of McTominay and Bruno, it's just going to be another long afternoon. And I think it's about time to figure out a way to implant Marcus Rashford back into this starting lineup. Remember, Højlund, the only time he scored has been in the Champions League, and most of those assists came from the right, from Marcus Rashford crossing, because we all know Anthony does not know how to use his right foot.
At Dickinson JR18 on the 280 character app. We get to hear him as a part of Prem and Proper on a weekly basis. And when emergencies happen, Drew breaks the glass and lets everybody know what's going on with Sir Jim Ratcliffe and everything at Manchester United. Drew, my friend, thanks for hanging out with us. We know you have to get back to the real world. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you, guys.
All right, there's Drew. And so now, Maddie, right now, it is Luton leading Sheffield United 1-0. Bournemouth with a goal on the board. They're leading Fulham 1-0. And that goes to the point that we were talking about, where you get the teams at the bottom of the table. And Luton and Sheffield United already seems like it's a relegation 6-pointer with both of them at the bottom of the table. But Luton got the big win. Sorry, I had to mention that. But they're getting closer, and Forest gets a win, and Bournemouth in the mid-table with a mid-table clash with Fulham. Later today, Burnley and Liverpool. I've yet to look at the juice boxes, but I imagine it's fairly one-sided. And then Manchester United and Aston Villa later today. How much of this are you actually going to watch, or are you actually going to be doing post-Christmas Boxing Day kinds of things? Are you going to be in front of the television, or are you actually going to be doing family stuff?
Well, ironically, I actually have the Bournemouth and Fulham game on my TV right now. So I got to watch that goal, which was a great goal, by the way. So I have that one on right now. I tuned into the Newcastle game, and then obviously once it kind of, became 2-1, I kind of tuned it out a little bit, but it was still on. Watched it to the end because I am a person, I'm a glutton for punishment. And that's what it is.
Hardcore.
But I'm definitely going to be watching the rest of these games throughout it. I'm kind of just taking the morning kind of in, and then maybe go out later for some maybe last minute sales for Christmas, because that's always the best day of the year is when the sales happen.
That's a smart play. You've got Black Friday after Thanksgiving, and then now you've got the Boxing Day sales. Did you get the pony that you asked for Christmas, by the way?
Listen, no pony, unfortunately, but I did get some goodies. I was very happy. I asked for a Newcastle scarf, and my brother was very sweet and got me a Newcastle scarf. I was like, so I'm going to add that to my big wall of scarves that I have at my apartment, which will be very nice. But yeah, I mean, it was a pretty good Christmas overall. I thought it was. It was fun. Got to see the family, got to, do all the fun things. Got to see the dogs freak out over all of the wrapping that was all over the place, because it was crazy. It was nuts.
Well, I'm glad that you got to see the dogs go nuts. When it comes to the season here in 2023, since the world of soccer, since we're kind of getting toward the end of the year, I will. What's the rest of your week like? Are you just home? You at home crashing?
Well, actually, I will be tomorrow. I will be leaving to go to Nashville because I'm doing a little Nashville trip with some friends, and then I will be in Chicago until January 3rd.
Nice. Okay, then I'll ask you this: since you are out of pocket and actually having time away from soccer, it's like spending time with friends. What is that? When it comes to this year, since this will be the last time that you will have been on this season, short of hijacking you for Prem and Proper on Friday on tape, what sticks out in your mind from this calendar year when it comes to the sport of soccer? What will you take with you from 2023, whether it's Newcastle, whether it's the U.S., whether it's the men, whether it's the women, something local, something collegiate? I mean, literally, it could be anything from Newcastle to Kennesaw State and all points in between. What will you take with you from 2023 into 2024? What will be some of the memories that you'll take with you from this season?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean,
That's a good
I think
filibuster.
just oh yeah, listen, you got what you got to do. I think just from even just being a part of starting here at Soccer Down Here, and even just like working with Kennesaw and all of that, just like seeing, I guess, the development of soccer from all levels has been a huge thing for me this year. Is like seeing from NAIA to Division 3, Division 2, Division 1, all the way to pro levels. Getting to kind of see the wide spread of things, and it really, honestly, Joe, goes to show that a lot of people tend to look down on if you're in MLS or if you're in Premier League. They're like, oh, you've made it. Not necessarily. There's these other leagues, there's these other places where like, just because they're Division 3, just because they're NAIA, just because they're Division 2, that doesn't mean that they don't play a competitive, fun game of soccer. And I think it goes for that, and then it also goes, I mean, at least just from like developing in women's soccer in that standpoint too, just of how well everything has been developing this year, and so much breakthrough that has been happening. I mean, we had our first lead ref who was a woman in Premier League I believe this past weekend, which is crazy.
Yep.
Like that's amazing. And so it's so fun getting to kind of see that kind of breakthrough too, and getting to see all of that. And so I'm this year it was crazy, but I'm so happy with kind of how the development has been for all of these different places happening in the world of soccer. It's great to see as someone who's kind of trying to, dip their foot in there a little bit. It's fun. It's great to see.
Yeah, let's see. It's been Kennesaw, it's been Oglethorpe, you've been Newcastle, you've been staring at a bunch of other things, but yeah, having a female center ref, it took too damn long. That's the best way to phrase it. Is that it took too damn long, and we're going to have, I think, the first time in 15 years, I think we're going to have our first black center ref as well coming up here in Festive Fixtures. Once again, it took too damn long. All right, so go enjoy your Boxing Day sales. One more question that has nothing to do with soccer. It has to do with American football.
Okay. Ooh.
Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift. What do you think?
Well, see, listen, I am a Taylor Swift fan. I am unfortunately not a Chiefs fan. I am a Philadelphia Eagles fan because of all the Georgia players. I will say this the day I die.
Kelce. Yeah.
Other Kelce. Well, listen, I root for the Eagles because I think it has such a good mix of SEC. Like, you have Alabama offense and then a Georgia defense. I'm like, can you think of two other things that work so well together? It's perfect. Anyway, that's not the point. But listen, like, I personally don't care. I like Taylor Swift. I like listening to her a lot. She was my top artist on Spotify this year because I am a Swiftie. I'll make it very clear. I didn't know it was happening, and then it kind of, like, a friend of mine sent it to me. She was like, "This is like best of both worlds for you. This is like sports plus, Taylor Swift. Like, what do you think?" And I'm like, if they're happy and it's not a PR stunt, then they can do what they want to do. I don't care either way. I just it was so funny though, because people will always be like, why is the NFL showing so much of Taylor Swift on like Sunday Night Football? I'm like, A, it's Taylor Swift, and B, also, it's money. It's cha-ching. They're trying to get all the people in to watch it. Yes. And I'm also like, and it's no different than, like, Kim Kardashian going to an LAFC game. It's no different. Or going to the Miami game. She was there at the game when Messi was there for the first time. Like, it's no different. Like, you have these celebrities that come, they're always going to be posted all over the place. So, but I don't personally hate it. If that's fine with them, they can do them. But I don't know. I've heard that it might be a PR stunt, and I wouldn't be shocked if it was, but I have no idea.
If it's a work, it's a hell of a work so far, and I'm for it because I get why networks are showing all the Taylor Swift cutaways, because you're opening yourself up to an entirely different audience, and the fact that she's in the box with Travis Kelce's mom, and she's dropping colorful metaphors when things go wrong, and is hopping up and down and saying colorful metaphors when things go well for her boyfriend, I guess, is what you call it. I'm all for it. I don't mind because I get it. So go enjoy your Boxing Day sales, and we will catch up with you when we catch up with you, because you're like taking time and spending time with friends. How novel an idea. Maddie, be good as always. Thanks for dropping by for Prem and you, and we'll catch up with you on the flip side.
Absolutely. I'll see y'all
Maddie.
later.
Be good. And there's Maddie. And so Maddie's hanging out, and allegedly Kim Kardashian is a celebrity. I don't care. I mean, I don't watch, D. Graham, I don't watch the reality TV stuff. I don't, because it's not. And the big misnomer of it being reality television, which once again, it's not. So I don't get into that kind of stuff, but you end up with the crossovers like we have here. It's fun. I'm not a Chiefs fan. I had both Mecole Hardman and Jerick McKinnon on my fantasy team, and they both got injured, and I finished last. So, yeah, misnomer, exactly. Best name for that genre, no doubt. But, just look. If they're having fun, they're having fun. And like I said, the fact that Taylor Swift is in the box with the Kelce's, and in front of Travis Kelce's mom, and she's got a potty mouth. I think it's hilarious. When she's happy, she's dropping colorful metaphors. When she's mad, she's dropping colorful metaphors. When she's being excited and she wants things to happen, she's dropping colorful metaphors. I like that. That's kind of funny to me. So more power to it. So I'm all for it. I have zero issue with it whatsoever. So, going over juice boxes. Let's go over juice boxes, because that's one of the things that we have not had the chance to look at today when it comes to specifically the matches coming up in the Premier League, and as they seem to have owned Boxing Day. And all right, so football. See, now I need. It's like not events. It's not by kickoff time. See, this is what happens when you chase after stuff. No, I'm not going to take a survey either. Let me see if it comes up faster, because on my phone I only get certain things. And like I said, when you're down a computer and you're trying to make sure that you can look at things and you can't, manage my leagues. Yes, football. Yeah, I accept all the cookies. First time I've reopened it ever since. Got new things. So okay. So today in the Prem. All right. So right now, halftime, Bournemouth leading Fulham 1-0. Bournemouth went into that one at a slight favorite at a -104 at the Vitality. 90-minute draw, and Fulham to win basically within the margin of error around a +280. Luton Town at Bramall Lane at a +209 going in, leading 1-0 at a +225 on the draw. And Sheffield United at a +148 with Chris Wilder back in charge. 12:30, Burnley at home at Turf Moor, basically a +700 going up against Liverpool. Liverpool at a -263. Your draw in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal, is a +443. The late game, Manchester United hosting Aston Villa. Manchester United, under new ownership, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, is not going to be in attendance by all indications. He's going to have some of his lieutenants or lieutenants there at the match at a +139. They are favored. The draw is a +280. Aston Villa is a +188. And then once again, you can catch Prem and Proper on the network previewing all of Festive Fixtures. 3 matches tomorrow, 2 matches on Thursday that get us back up and running to the weekend, where it ends up with 6 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, 1 on Monday, 1 on Tuesday. I don't know why they do the January 2nd thing, but so they get a day off. So Luton, by the way, so here's Festive Fixtures rundown from today. So Luton's playing today, and they're the early game on Saturday, hosting Chelsea at Kenilworth Road. So today being Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you get 3 days off before you play at home against Chelsea. So tomorrow is rest and recovery. So Thursday would be training, Friday would be light training, and probably both of those days are light training to get you ready for Chelsea as the early game on Saturday. Burnley, 12:30 on today. Villa, 3 o'clock today. They're one of the 10 o'clock games on Saturday. Crystal Palace, Brentford. Brentford's playing tomorrow. Crystal Palace is playing tomorrow. They're a 10 o'clock game on Saturday. Manchester City playing tomorrow because they've got to come back from the Club World Cup where they won and beat Fluminense, and apparently Jack Grealish either was or was not saying ole to folks who were to Felipe Melo, who was, I think, 43. And the folks at Fluminense were kind of hot about that, and Jack Grealish denied it. But Crystal Palace and Manchester City playing tomorrow. Brentford playing tomorrow. Everton playing tomorrow. They're all playing on Saturday. Brighton and Spurs are Thursday. Brighton got pushed for their final game in Festive Fixtures to the Tuesday, January 2nd date. How'd they get that? And then Spurs play on Sunday in one of those 2 time slots. Arsenal and West Ham, then by design, Arsenal plays one of the Sunday games after playing on Thursday, so they get 2 days rest. Spurs get 2 days rest. Arsenal get 2 days rest. West Ham got pushed to the Tuesday game on January 2nd. We'll be talking about that one at 2:30. But this is why I wanted to ask the question about Festive Fixtures and just how crazy it gets, because you got teams with 3 days, 3 days rest, 2 days rest, and then you're playing your third in that, that period of time where you're kind of stuck. And like I said, this is where the teams at the bottom of the table get to close ranks a little bit. And we're seeing that already, and we possibly could see it a little bit more after the end of action today. Because as things stand right now, and like I said, and this was my greater point, where the teams at the bottom of the table, this is where they get to close ranks a little bit. Traditionally, I don't understand why. I can't quite understand it. But this is where they kind of close ranks. Luton, right now, 12 points. 4 points away from Everton, who've won 4 in a row, and they have the 10-point deduction that's a part of things. So Luton, live, is at 15 points. Luton is drawing Everton and Forest and Crystal Palace back into the relegation discussion if the result holds today, heading into that third match of Festive Fixtures. Burnley's at 11 points, Sheffield United at 9. But if Luton wins today, they draw another couple of teams back into the relegation discussion. They get to draw these teams back in. Luton at 15, Everton at 16, Forest at 17 after the win this morning. And Crystal Palace at 18. And like I said, keep an eye on Steve Cooper going to Crystal Palace when all this is settled, because Roy Hodgson already seems like he's tired of the whole damn thing. But do not be surprised if Steve Cooper ends back up in the Premier League at Crystal Palace starting next season, or if they get tired of Roy Hodgson this year. But today, Festive Fixtures, once again, causing a little bit of chaos at the bottom of the table. Luton Town, they win, they hold, drawing folks back into the discussion. I always thought it was going to be 4 for 3, but now it looks like it could be 4 for 1 by the end of the day. So we'll keep an eye on all of that. You got the matchups coming up a little later on, and you've got everything else laid out as we go. But tomorrow, hopefully, if Dylan Butler can join us, and if he gets permission from the boss as he's getting everything squared away, we'll have Dylan on one last time here in 2023. And we'll kind of be looking at what's on your mind, the big stories of the season as we head toward Friday and everything. But we'll obviously be keeping an eye on all the news and all the everything that's going on. So keep an eye on Messi and Friends. Keep an eye on Old Trafford. Keep an eye on New Trafford. Keep an eye on Sir Jim Ratcliffe now that's a part of the discussion. But we'll be back at it again, 9:05, back in Office HD tomorrow. And as always, thank you for hanging out with me here in Alabama. And once again, to Hutch's, thank you at the beginning. Thank you for suffering through the buffering. And we'll be back at it in the office again tomorrow, 9:05 Eastern. And we will take you through the day on all of our social media platforms. Thanks for watching us on our YouTube, on the Twitch, and on the 280 character app. We'll be back at it again tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out with us for another round of SDH. Play it safe, everybody. And we'll find out about your gifts and all of your thoughts and best ofs and all that kind of stuff as we go here this week. The last couple of days here in 2023. So for everybody here at SDH, thanks to Maddie, thanks to Drew, thanks to Bart, and thanks to you. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, 9:05 Eastern. Play it safe, everybody. Mucho platial. Since it's the end of the show, that means I get to do this. Enjoy Boxing Day, everybody.